What's up, YouTube? Shamu Aquatics here, bringing you guys another video. Now, today's video is a special video because it has some throwback footage, some photos, and all that good stuff. But today's video is going to be another species ramble video, and today's species is going to be the red-tailed shark. My all-time favorite fish that I've been keeping pretty much since I first got into this hobby. And whoa, what a throwback we have here. So this is my old 125 tall, and as you guys can see, I had a nice community of red-tailed sharks and rainbow sharks, which brings me to my first subject. And that is the fact that the red-tailed sharks are often confused with the rainbow sharks. Now, they are in the same family and they look pretty similar to each other, but they are two different species. But they pretty much have the same temperament, they have the same basic care needs, and they grow to be about the same size. But the main difference you will notice is that on the rainbow sharks, all of the fins are red, but on the red-tailed sharks, only the tail is red. But other than that, everything else about them is pretty much the same, just different colors, and that's it. Now, as you can see here, back then I did break the rules quite a bit. You are only supposed to keep one shark per tank, but you can successfully keep multiple together long term if you follow these basic rules. 1. Have a 100-gallon tank or bigger, no shorter than 5 feet. 2. Have lots of places for them to hide. And 3, keep them in a group of 5 or more. And when I say a group of 5 or more, that only includes the rainbow sharks and the red-tailed sharks. You can intermix the red-tailed sharks and rainbow sharks because they're in the same family. But if you're looking to do a group of 5 plus, the roseline sharks and the bala sharks and the iridescent sharks, they do not count as part of that group. So if you were to get like a rainbow shark, a red-tailed shark, and an albino rainbow shark, and then put 3 bala sharks in there, that is not a group of 6. You have a group of 3, and then the bala sharks are their own separate thing. So an ideal group would be like 1 red-tailed shark and 4 rainbow sharks. Good, that is a group of 5. But it's such a complex process to keep multiple together long term. I was able to successfully do it. All of them lived to old age with a few losses from ammonia spikes due to operator error. But I replaced them, and then the remaining ones, which I always kept in a minimum of a group of 5, minimum. And they all made it to old age. And they coexisted mostly peacefully together. As you can see in this footage, they are not acting aggressive towards one another. They are getting along just fine. But please, let's just stick to that 1 per tank rule just to make things easier, because way too many people have tried to copy me over the years, and they would ignore 1 or 2 of those important key points. Now let's talk about temperament. As you can see in this footage, these fish can be quite aggressive, and in most cases, a community tank is not the most ideal situation for them because they will often chase and harass their tank mates. But it usually depends on the individual fish's personality, because the one I currently have has been pretty peaceful so far, but he has only been in the tank for a few days now, so we shall wait and see if the gloves come off. But he is already 5 inches long, so he is past that point where they typically become aggressive, because usually they start out peaceful when they're like little 1 to 2 inch babies. But once they reach that 3 to 4 inch mark, that's when their true colors start to show. But the one I have now is already 5 inches, and I'm pretty sure if he was going to be aggressive, he would already be showing that aggressive behavior by now. So still, we should wait and see, because in the next week or a month or so, those true colors could come out. Now, one thing to know about these fish is their tank size. They should be kept in a 55-gallon tank or bigger. Now, I will go out on a limb here and say that they would be just fine in a 40 breeder, but in a 40 breeder, those other fish might not have much room to get away from the red-tailed shark. And these fish can be aggressive to the point where they will stress other fish to death. So that is why it is often recommended to have a 4-foot long tank or longer, so the other fish will have room to get away and take a breather from the shark. And the bigger the tank, the better. I currently have my red-tailed shark in an 8-foot, 240-gallon tank, so if he does start to become territorial or aggressive, it won't be as big of a deal as it would be if I were to have him in a 40-gallon tank. So get the biggest tank you possibly can before purchasing a red-tailed shark. If you have anything less than a 40 breeder, do not get one of these fish because they will also get to a pretty decent size. They can grow up to 6 inches long, and they are pretty thick-bodied, so they will look ridiculous in a 29-gallon tank. So 40 breeder minimum, 55, 75-gallon tank, usually the standard minimum. 125-gallon tank or bigger, and you are golden. Now, on a personal side note, this specific red-tailed shark that you are looking at right now is the first fish I got when I returned to the hobby after an involuntary 5-year break. This red-tailed shark could be seen in a lot of my old videos over the years. He was a 6.5-inch beast, and I called him Big Daddy. He was my all-time favorite fish, and I had him from March of 2012 until December 31st, 2020. Almost 9 years. He was my all-time favorite fish that I have ever kept, and to this day I still miss him. Sadly, there is no cure for old age. And now this is the little turd weasel that was supposed to be his replacement, but this specific red-tailed shark right here was a little demon, and I ended up deporting him out to Maryland, and now Dan Heitshoe, aka Everyday Fish Keeping, has him. So he is now Dan's problem and not mine. Oh, look, there's Big Daddy again. But, yeah, I've had red-tailed sharks that were either peaceful, mildly pushy, or just straight up evil, like that one I sent to Dan. But for some reason in Dan's tank, he's been a lot more mellow, which is just not fair. But yeah, that's a little bit of my personal experience with these fish. So one thing I hear all the time from people is that red-tailed sharks are more aggressive than rainbow sharks. Now, I don't really find this to be true. Now, it does vary on the individual fish's personality, but my overall experience leads me to believe that in terms of aggression, red-tailed sharks and rainbow sharks are pretty much the same. They can be peaceful, they can be mildly pushy, or they can be straight up evil. And this applies to both the rainbow sharks and the red-tailed sharks. Now, when I've kept them in groups in the past, yeah, the red-tailed sharks were usually the tank boss. But when I've kept them singular, they average out to being about the same. I've had rainbow sharks that were peaceful, I've had rainbow sharks that were mildly pushy, and I've had rainbow sharks that were just straight up evil. With the red-tailed sharks, I've had red-tailed sharks that were peaceful, I've had red-tailed sharks that were mildly pushy, and I've had red-tailed sharks that were just pure evil, just like I've experienced with the rainbow sharks. So overall, they're pretty much the same, but I will point out that typically the rainbow sharks were just douchebags 24/7, whereas the aggressive red-tailed sharks were mainly just aggressive during feeding time or if another fish entered its territory. So my vote usually goes towards the red-tailed sharks because I like their personalities better overall, and I think they're a lot better looking. I briefly mentioned this before in the video, but let's get a little bit deeper into their size. They typically grow to about 6 inches, but it is not uncommon to see some that are like 7 inches. But I have seen one that was 8 inches, but that is rare. Some other people have told me that they've seen 8-inch red-tailed sharks before, but it's still quite rare to see them ever get any bigger than 7 inches. But 6 inches is the most common size for these fish. And another main difference between red-tailed sharks and rainbow sharks is that red-tailed sharks are usually thicker bodied. But anyway, that's going to do it for today's video. I hope you liked today's video along with the throwback footage I threw in there. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.